we have a special treat of hearing from illustrator Cheryl Ross Thuesday. Cheryl's illustrations have been praised for their bold colors, shapes, and textures, so we're thrilled that she added her unique flair to our forthcoming picture book biography, EDIE for Equality, written by Michael Genhart. EDIE for Equality shares the life of Edie Windsor, who learned to embrace herself as a lesbian woman and eventually went on to the Supreme Court to fight for the U.S. to treat her fairly, paving the way for the legalization of gay marriage. This book will be available May 2025. Cheryl, thank you so much for joining us. Please take it away.
Thank you for having me. Hey everyone, my name is Cheryl Ross Thuesday. My pronouns are she and her. I am a Jamaican Chinese woman with long black brown locks in a high bun. I'm wearing a blue jeans shirt and green pants. And I have frames. My glasses are gold. I am an editorial picture book illustrator based in Brooklyn, New York. I've been creating editorial illustrations for several years for various newspapers and magazines, but it wasn't until 2022 that I burst onto the children's book illustration scene. I'm super excited to be here to share this wonderful, important book, EDIE for Equality. Edie Windsor Stands Up for Love, written by Michael Genhart, illustrated by me, scheduled to be released May 20th, 2025. This is a biography picture book about Edie Windsor and her fight for marriage equality, the injustice that she encountered, and standing up for what is right. Edie fought against the Defense of Marriage Act, DOMA. For those who don't know, essentially, the Defense of Marriage Act was a federal law that passed in 1996 that defined marriage as a union between one man and one woman and denied federal recognition of same-sex marriage. Edie led the case against the United States after she was forced to pay over $363,000 in estate taxes after her same-sex spouse, Thea Spider, her partner of 40 years, died, which became a historical Supreme Court case known as United States versus Windsor. It is through Edie's resiliency that she won, and because of her that today it gives us so much meaning to love is love and equals equal. So when I was first approached to illustrate this story, I was over the moon. Edie Windsor is not only a prolific activist for the LGBTQ plus community, she championed marriage equality. She is the reason why I am able to marry my partner and that so many of my friends are in legal marriages now as well. It basically took me 2.5 seconds to say yes. I felt honored and privileged to be a part of this project, not only because of who she was, but there's not one picture book about her or her accomplishments that I knew of. So to be the first to illustrate her story meant everything to me. With that being said, there was so much research that had to be done. I had to find pictures of Edie as a child, which I could only find one, to her being a young adult, to when she first started dating Thea, then to their later years. It was a team effort. Michael, the author, the art director, myself collected these images. There is such a contrast between illustrating a fiction book versus a nonfiction book. With a fiction book, you're using your imagination. You're inspired by photos, and you glance by, you're glancing these photos, and you're inspired by your surroundings. However, with Edie, I had to stick with the facts. Edie was born in the 30s, in which girls were not allowed to wear pants back then. And I remember one of the images that I first drew of her, she had pants, which is a big no-no. Another example in one of the scenes in the book of Bobby Kaplan, which is Edie's lawyer, speaks to Supreme Court justices. There, I had to ensure that the judges were sitting precisely in the correct seats on that historic day, that the expressions matched up to that photo. Furthermore, I had to create images of Edie's life journey through a broad time period, which started in the 1930s to the 60s to the 80s and finally the 2000s. In the beginning, uh, it wasn't easy to illustrate this book because I wanted to experiment and go wild as much as I could. I'm a vibrant, colorful person who sometimes like to exaggerate illustrations. Sometimes I couldn't do that, but I found a way to test my wildness in several particular scenes by applying those bright colors into the fashion from those eras, into her wardrobe and background scenes. I mean, this book is a labor of love. I love this book because it truly challenged me as an artist. There were instances that I had to rework Edie multiple times in different eras to get her just right. For example, the very first page depicts Edie playing a harmonica. Here I drew 3 versions of her in various sketch phases. And it actually took a couple more reworking phrases to accomplish the final. I think sometimes the readers don't know how much goes into perfecting a scene, how much the illustrator goes through that stage of doubt. Like, am I capable of doing this? You know, especially for me, because I just arrived on the picture book scene 3 years ago. But in these moments, you learn it's a process and you have to believe in what you're doing and trust the people who are assisting you to create the best illustration possible. John Candle, the art director, who was amazing, and he gently assisted me in these processes, which sometimes were quite difficult. Another scene, which is not pictured here, it would absolutely put me through some things. I mean, I had to illustrate a anti-Semitic scene that Edie experienced as a child. And I really didn't know what to do, how to approach this difficult topic, especially for a kid's book. I had to do some more research. I dug into Edie's childhood. It was there that I came across the fact that her family owned the candy ice cream store, and which many people avoided because of who they were. I had to draw that scene several times to get it to the final. It was important to not overdo it, to passively apply a visual that wasn't too harsh. Because again, this is a children's picture book. Yes, discrimination is horrible, but I think we can still be gentle in getting the message across, especially when it comes to young readers. One of the things I want the reader to experience when they read this book, you know, Edie has this quote that I love. She says, "Don't postpone joy, keep it hot." She went through so much in her long life, from anti-Semitism to misogyny in the workplace to homophobia. But through all that, she made sure she found her joy. She created her joy. And I wanted the illustrations to reflect that. And the only way I know how is by using these vibrant, bright colors depicting Edie's happiness through images. In addition, exhibiting the love that Edie and Thea had throughout the years. Yes, this book is about a tax bill and a historic court case, but it's also about how strong and resilient and fearless and fierce Edie was at the young age of 80. Equally important, how she fought for the love she had for Thea, a woman who was her partner for 40 years, and she continued to fight for that love even when Thea passed on. So it is my hope that this book reflects that love, that joy that they so much cherished. I mean, isn't that what it's all about? You know, finding that joy and doing whatever it takes to keep it going. So if you haven't already, please pre-order this lovely book and follow me for more updates. I thank you so much for your time. Uh, Thank you, Lee and Low Books.